Alright, so we're going to look at this problem. The problem says read the advertisement below. Buy a Hisense 575 liter French door fridge for only 928 rand per month. You have 36 months to pay. No deposit is required. Okay, so basically, if there's no deposit required, it means that my remaining balance would be basically the what? It would be that amount without the deposit being taken. Alright, because usually remember that for any hire purchase agreement, sort of like a situation, usually a deposit is paid. After the deposit is paid, the interest is charged on the remaining balance. But in this case, if let's say the scenario had told us about how much this fridge had cost, the purchase price, we would take that purchase price as the remaining balance and charge interest on it. Alright, but of course this is a different scenario altogether, and we are being told here that for buy this Hisense French door fridge for only 928 rand per month. So these are monthly installments that we need to pay for only 928 per month. For how long? For 36 months. Okay, no deposit is required. So now they're asking calculate the total amount to be paid over a period of 36 months. Now 36 months is obviously 3 years, short-term loan of course, but then we need to check this 928 rand per month for 36 months. That means we are going to take 928 rand, and if we pay for 1 month, it means 928. We pay for 2 months, it means we times this 928 by 2. But if we're going to pay for 36 months, it means we're going to take this 928 and times it by 36. So we'll say 928 rand times 36. Go to our trusted calculator. 928 times the what? The 36 months that we have there equal to what? 33,408. So how much are we? 33,408 rand cents. So basically the total amount to be paid over a period of 36 months will be 33,408. Remember, this includes the interest charged on whatever the purchase price was. The purchase price would obviously not be 33,408 rand, but it would be the 33,408 rand, which is including the interest rate charged on whatever the purchase price was. It would be very interesting to know how much actually that double door fridge actually cost if the individual wanted to pay cash for it, but this is obviously with the interest added on it. Okay, because obviously this is the monthly installment. Okay, and we're not told if whether insurance is there or not, and obviously that monthly installment we are timesing it by the period, okay, of the short-term loan, which is 36 months, okay, to get 33,408, which here is obviously a representation of the total amount to be paid over the 36 months. Let's move on to the next question. 4.3.2. The monthly installment quoted in the advertisement is calculated on a hire purchase. Are we together? Which charges interest of 9.5% per annum on the cash price of the fridge. Show that the price of the fridge is what? 25 rand. Not 25 rand. 25,999 rand. Well, if it was 25 rand, I mean that would be a very cheap fridge. It's 25,999 rand. So we are being asked now to actually check and show that the purchase price, that the price of the fridge is 25,000 what? 999 rand. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our interest rate formula. 1 plus I n. Now, obviously, we know that A would typically be known as what? This would be typically known as the loan amount. Okay, the loan amount is a representation of the total purchase price, right? In this case, okay. Sorry, the total amount to be paid over the period of 36 months. This would be known as the total. Now we are going to write this 33,408 in the place of A, because this represents the total loan amount to be paid over the period of 36 months. Remember, we had spoken about in the previous video that it is the loan amount, the total loan amount. Now the P value would be the remaining balance, but since we do not have a deposit, the remaining balance would be the purchase price or the cash price, because there's no deposit paid. So we are calculating P1 plus I. The interest rate, we are told that the interest rate is 9.5%. Remember, we say I is equal to, if we want to calculate the interest rate as a decimal, we are going to say R over 100, which is equal to, remove the decimal 2 times 1, 2, so it will be 0.095. That will be interest rate as a decimal. So it's going to be 0.095 times N. Now, N here, we are told of 36 months, but we know that 36 months we are going to divide by the number of months they are in a year. So 36 divided by 12 will give us 3 years. So now I know it's 3 years in the simple interest calculation formula. Now we are going to then solve the situation. So let's just go to our trusted calculator so that we can get an idea as to what we are going to get as the value inside the bracket. It would be nice to actually find out what that will be. So let's just say brackets, we're gonna say 1 plus, that's 0.095. We times that by 3, so say times that by 3, close the bracket. Okay, that's not 30, sorry, 3, then the bracket there, we say equal 1,285. So we know this is P into 1,285. Now, as we had learned earlier on in grade 10 when we were in term 1, we want to make P the subject of the formula. Now P, the brackets mean multiply, so P is multiplied to 1,285. So what we do is we are going to do what? To get rid of 1,285, we are going to divide by 1,285, which we regard as the coefficient. But obviously what we do on the left, we are going to do on the right. So that obviously will cancel the 1,285. Then we are going to use our calculator to calculate what is 33,408 divided by 1,285. And hopefully what we are hoping is we are going to get to this 25,999 as the answer. So let's go there. Let's go and cancel this. We type in 33,000 what? 408. We divide it by what? 1,285. What does it equal to? Oh, there we go. Okay, 33,408 rand divided by 1,285, exactly as it appears in the calculator, is equal to what? Now from our calculation, we are getting 25,998 rand, 44. Now this 44 means that we are not going to be rounding off, because remember, if this number here was 5 and more, that would mean that this 8 needs to go up by 1. But if this number here is actually 4 or less, that means that this value of 8 stays the same. Now what we can see is that it said we need to show that the price of the freight is 25,999. But here in our calculation we're getting 25,998. So I'm going to actually then conclude that they made an error in the actual statement there. But obviously that P value is close enough, that 25,998 rand. Obviously to 2 decimal places is actually 44. Okay, if you're rounding off to 2 decimal places, because the 3 here, if we cut off the 3 says to the 4, we stay the same. Remember, if the numbers, guys, are 4 and less, it means that the numbers stay the same. But if the number after the decimal you're supposed to round off, the number after the decimal we're supposed to round off is actually 5 or more, it would mean that this number would go up by 1. But in this case, it stays the same. Okay, so I would say, guys, that the price of the fridge, that 25,998, is close enough. So we will say the price of fridge going to be very unflinching in my conclusion. It's 25,998. I would say, guys, that value is very close enough to the 25,999 which they wanted me to calculate, but I'm thinking that they probably made an error here. Of course, my calculations are accurate here, so I'm not going to deviate from that. 4.3.3, calculate the total interest paid over a period of 36 months if the fridge is bought with the hire purchase agreement. Calculate the what? The total interest paid over what? A period of 36 months if the what? If the fridge is bought with the what? With this hire purchase agreement. The total interest paid. So what we do here is if we want to calculate the total interest paid, we need to take what? The total amount that is paid over 36 months and then we need to subtract from that. What do we need to subtract? The price of the fridge. So that would mean we take this 33,408 minus the price of the fridge, which is 25,998. So we go to our calculator. We are going to obviously say AC here. So let's say 33,000 what? 408. We subtract what? 25,000 what? 998. What do we get? 7,410. 7,410. Now imagine, guys, this is the total interest paid. Okay, so these people that are basically selling this fridge, because of that hire purchase agreement that they created for this individual that wanted to get this fridge, are basically going to be getting this amount of money that they're going to actually get as interest. This guy could have walked into the store. Had he had 25,998 in hand, he could have just bought this fridge at this amount of money. But because he doesn't have that 25,998, he enters into a hire purchase agreement, ends up having to actually pay in total 33,408 rand, because obviously interest is charged when hire purchase agreement is actually taken out, because it's a short-term loan. And basically the difference is that he needs to pay 7,410 rand, okay, more than what he would have paid had he had the actual total amount of money, cash. Okay, so that basically we refer to the cash price or the purchase price of the fridge. Okay, so if we want to calculate the total interest paid, we take the total amount paid over 36 months with the interest, we subtract the purchase price or the cash price of the fridge, we do get a total interest of 7,410 rand. Hopefully, guys, that made so much sense. And here you can see that we have to employ or apply our our knowledge of literal equations, okay, making something the subject of the formula. And guys, very importantly, that whenever you have to do that, you must write down the formula that you are using, do the substitution, and then after that, in the substitution, that's when basically you are going to make the subject of the formula whilst the substitution has gone on. Okay.